Mikhail, welcome to our program this morning. How did you get into playing the steel pan?
Steel Pan would have been through school, starting with School Panorama and then music festival back then, graded exams and stuff like that. That was my actual introduction into steel pan.
Tell us a little bit about where you are now. What do you play?
I don't do steel bands. My entry was solo because I came up have more in the music festival vibe. Right now I play on ship. It's great because I get to do a much wider range of music, a lot of stuff that's really up my alley. I get to showcase the pan in some different lights as well. Even when I'm out there, I play a calypso. People enjoy the song, but it is really when you play Anita Baker, the Shaka Khan. And I'm big on melodies, so I'm big on playing it as you know it so that you can sing along with it. Once you do, that's when people really and pay attention.
When you say it should be impossible, explain what you mean by that.
It's just that it goes against the nature of the instrument. The instrument is clearly percussive. There are some songs that the singer may have like an airy kind of voice. My aim in playing is to get the instrument to mimic that airy kind of voice. That's really what I mean by that. There's a pretty modern song, Best Part by Daniel Caesar, which made its rounds doing its thing. It was a hit. And that's usually my one of my heavy go-to songs when I start explaining to them what the instrument can do.
You are really communicating to the world about what this instrument is by the work that you're doing. What would you recommend to a young person who is a panist?
By all means, continue. What I would suggest is recognize for them to recognize early on that your crowd may not be here, and that is what it is. Because naturally, when you're coming up in the field, you try to stay home and do your thing there. But the truth about it is, it, it may not be that you're meant to stay home. You may need to leave, and that is what it is.
Mikhail is saying there are opportunities abroad, and his suggestion to young people who are panists are that they may have an opportunity outside of Trinidad and Tobago.
Opportunities everywhere. It really just depends on what type of player you are or what type of player you may intend to be. What I've recognized is in the Caribbean, we tend to stifle what the instrument plays. Usually, especially starting off in the solo scene and playing for tea parties or whatever, as soon as I'm introduced to the stage, people gonna ask, "You gonna play these melody or what?" It's like, y'all do know that this instrument can play everything, but the only thing you actually requested to play is calypso or soca. Even when I'm out on ship and Caribbean people come on board, I had one person told me, "You have this beautiful instrument and uh, you're only playing white man music." I was like, at that point in time, I was not playing soca in that particular set. It was nothing to do with soca. You stifle the growth. You actually contribute to having people lock the instrument in geographically. Because once people hear it, all they think is Caribbean. You want people to know where it's from, but at this present time, nobody knows where the guitar is from. Only guitarists who probably have done the research. No one knows where the piano is from. Nobody asks. Nobody cares. They just want the music. It really just depends on what you want to go into. If you like your socas and stuff like that, then Trinidad is going to be the best place for you. Or somewhere that is heavily Caribbean, with a heavy Caribbean population. So you have your New York, your major cities in the US, the UK, or wherever it is. Then you have Southern America, where you can get a lot more things opened up to you. Normally, when I sail, I prefer to sail out of the South, and by the South, not including Florida, Louisiana, Alabama, that kind of thing, because I actually get about three genres opened up to me. to perform.
Mm.
When I'm sailing out of Florida, I'm sailing out of Baltimore, I'm actually way more limited in terms of what they are willing to. Because when you're sailing out of a place, you generally get people from there or from the surrounding states, and the Southerners have these genres that generally only they listen to. So it expands my repertoire when I'm there. I've tried playing it in Florida. I was like, we don't really rock with that. They really need to know that there's a world of an audience, and if you're not getting your thing here, you can leave and get your audience out there. Being a classical player, you wouldn't be able to do it in Trinidad. Classical music is your thing. You'll be a teacher soon.
Yes, yes.
You'll be a
So,
teacher. You wouldn't be
Mikhail,
a player.
you talked about sometimes getting three genres of music that you have to play. Could you just take us through one of them?
There's one in particular called blues. They call it either blues or southern soul, but it is not our idea of blues. So it's not the BB King type blues. It is really soul music. It's really just soul music. So when I heard about it, I was confused when they asked me if I know any blues, and I was like, "You mean BB King, that kind of thing?" And they were like, "No, like King George and Tucker. You have any Tucker?" I'm like, "Who are these guys? I don't know them."
Do you read music?
Yeah, yeah.
So, is that a key requirement that you must be able to read the music?
No. For my position, reading music comes in handy for me because I take requests like crazy. As fast as you call a request, if I don't have it, I'm gonna try to find it, try to learn it, and play it. Because that as well helps me to widen my repertoire. Because it might just be you alone want that song, but as far as in my head, if you want that song this week, then probably next week someone else may actually like that song. I've seen it work time and time again where I've, there's songs people record. There's a song called "Before the Rain" by Lee Oscar, instrumental song, and there are times I've played it as a surprise because I'm always trying to feel out the crowd. I played it to see if there's anybody in the crowd, and sometimes they see some younger people stepping out to it, doing particular style of dance. So you ask me for a song, I write it out on one of the music programs on my tablet, and sight read the song the next day. Now, I don't fully need to sight read it because the time it takes me to write it out, I'm learning it. I have to keep playing it over and over to make sure this is correct. So by the time I'm done with that, I pretty much know about half the song. That's where the reading comes in handy for me for speed learning.
And Mikhail, my question is, where do you see the future of Pan?
Future of Pan is great. Future of Pan in Trinidad is great. It's very for us to end up in a situation where other people are carrying the instrument, which actually is no problem. That it may end up in a situation where there are other people outside of Trinidad that are actually carrying the instrument to its future. I think that's going to happen because we tie the instrument into other things locally. We try to use those other things to export the instrument when you should be exporting the instrument by itself. It has nothing to do with soca, it has nothing to do with calypso. It's just an instrument. It's not a calypso instrument, it's not a reggae instrument. And that is what we've been doing for years. We've been latching it onto these things because we don't latch soca onto it. Soca is not the music for Pan. We never created the combination that way. Soca is soca, and you export your soca, and that's the end of that. Pan is pan. Export the pan, it's just an instrument. Just export the instrument without trying to tie it in so heavily into the music of the country. Which is why in 2024 we still have people. There's people in Trinidad I didn't ask.
Yeah.
Come on. You mean you didn't know? What you mean? And you're an adult and you know? Like, come on. Then that means you. I think Pan's future is great. I don't know how much Trinidad players will be involved in the future of Pan. You are the artist and you have the vision. But right now, it's a little bit like the audience has the vision
Yeah.
and the artist just following that vision, which is you play what the audience wants. I always had a thing for me where you hire me for a gig, yes, I play what you want because you hired me for the gig. When I'm doing my show, I'm the artist presenting my work.
Mikhail, as we come to an end of this
Yeah.
program, what would you like our audience to remember?
Pan is an instrument. I want to say take the Caribbean out of the instrument. I know that's a difficult thing to say, and that's backlash worthy. But yeah, take the Caribbean out of the instrument. It's just an instrument like any other. Just let it play.
Yeah. Thank
Let it
you
play.
very much.
Yeah.
And my takeaway is that pan is an instrument, and we need to continue to support it and make it into an instrument similar to things like the piano, things like the guitar, things like the violin. It is an instrument. Thank you, Mikhail, for being part of this program. And we look forward to seeing you again